Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something really old, powerful pieces from the Rig Veda. These are foundational texts, giving us a glimpse into a very different way of seeing the world.
That's right. We've got a selection of hymns here, and for this deep dive, we're focusing on three key figures, deities who really stand out: Indra, Agni, and the Maruts. It's almost like, stepping back thousands of years.
Exactly. Hearing how people actually spoke to the divine, how they saw their place.
Mhm.
So our mission today, it isn't just about listing facts. We really want to unpack what these hymns tell us about the nature of these gods. What are their key traits, their powers, and maybe crucially, how did the people chanting these hymns try to connect with them?
Yeah, what's the worldview that kind of emerges when you read these praises?
It's about trying to see the world through their eyes, isn't it? How they understood these huge forces around them, what they valued, and this relationship they imagined with the gods.
A reciprocal relationship, absolutely.
Okay, let's dive right in then. We should probably start with one of the most prominent figures here, certainly one of the most powerful, Indra.
Indra, yes,
Yeah.
definitely central. A dominant force in these hymns, often painted as this kingly warrior figure.
And you immediately get this sense of raw energy, right? Force. The hymns call him swift, strong, and high exalted.
And his weapon is iconic, the thunder. He's the thunder-armed, wielding the bolt.
So his power isn't subtle. It's tied directly to action, often pretty violent, world-shaping kind of action.
Definitely. And the biggest action he's known for, at least in these hymns, is slaying Vrtra.
Vrtra, who's called the dryer up of waters, or sometimes a dragon. What's the big deal there? Why is that so important?
Well, it's more than just, a monster fight. Vrtra basically represents blockage, especially the blockage of water, which is life.
Ah,
So by killing Vrtra, Indra releases the obstructed floods. The hymns say the rivers then played like cows imprisoned. It's this huge cosmic act that breaks the drought, lets the water flow. Exactly. And it's interesting, Tostar, the divine craftsman, is mentioned as forging Indra's thunderbolt specifically for this fight.
so his greatest win is tied to releasing this essential life force. But he does more than just that, right? He's a destroyer of obstacles, generally.
Oh, absolutely. He shatters clouds, this broad, massive cloud. He's called the destroyer of the castles.
And it gets specific, breaking down the seven castles for someone called Purukutsa. He goes after the Dacius in their distant dwelling, cleaves Sambra through, slays Susna for Kutsa, lots of smiting.
It really shows his role isn't just cosmic, fighting dragons. He gets involved in human conflicts too, helping his followers against their enemies. The Dacius, for example, scholars often think they might represent indigenous groups, or maybe just forces of chaos.
And when he shows up, the impact is huge. Earth and heaven tremble for terror.
That's the scale of his power. But he also steps in personally.
Yeah, you mentioned helping humans, like Kutsa in battle or Purukutsa, Sudi's Puru. Even helping someone called Etasa win a chariot race against Sarya.
Right. It shows a god whose power shakes the cosmos. High heaven hath measured out its strength, this earth hath bowed itself. But who also intervenes directly in human lives, in their struggles, their competitions. They ask him for strength, victory, riches.
And he seems to want that interaction, doesn't he? He's called a lover of praise. He receives laud, songs of praise, hymns, adoration.
Yes, and specific composers are named, like the Gautamas and Notas, credited with crafting these prayers for him. It suggests that worship, the act of praise, isn't just passive reception, it's an active effort, something the god actually values. It's part of that give and take.
Okay, and before we move on from Indra, there's that one really curious line about Vishnu. In an Indra hymn, it says, Vishnu drunk up the draught and plundered the dainty cates, the cooked mess. What's that about?
It is fascinating, isn't it? A little glimpse into maybe a wider pantheon. It hints that these gods didn't exist in isolation. Maybe it points to shared rituals, maybe a bit of friendly competition, or just acknowledging different divine roles within the same ceremony.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift focus now from the big thundering warrior to a deity who feels incredibly foundational almost everywhere. Agni.
Agni, yes, the fire god. Absolutely essential in these texts. He's the critical link, really, between the human world and the divine.
He keeps being called the messenger, right? The Herald Vivas Van's messenger, the messenger of earth and heaven, even messenger of all the Vases.
Yeah.
Why fire? Why is fire the perfect go-between?
Well, think about sacrifice. Fire consumes the offering, doesn't it? And the smoke, the essence, it carries it upwards. towards the gods.
Ah, it's the physical bridge.
Exactly. Without Agni, the ritual doesn't work. The connection's broken. He's the one carrying the prayers, the offerings, the intention.
And the descriptions of him are just full of life, of movement. He's the son of strength, which suggests power right from his origin. He spreads rapidly, eagerly through the dry wood. He's a swiftly moving envoy, rushes like Sindhu, the Indus River.
The imagery they use is so vivid. His back glistens like a horse. He roared and shouted like the heights of heaven. He has tongues for sickles. That's a powerful image. Fire as a harvesting tool, almost.
Yeah. And a mighty roar, a black path where he's been. He rushes like a bull, eager to the trees, with teeth of flame.
So many animal comparisons. Horse, bull, even a swift bird. He's triumphant like a bull among the herd of cows. His bright strength is roaming to the everlasting air, hued like the morning, like the sun's glance. It's pure energy, almost wild, but indispensable.
And his roles are just huge. Not just the messenger. He's the high priest, the sacrificer himself. Chosen by priests, calls the gods to the rites. But then he's also the house lord, the ordainer.
Yes, adored with men, the guardian lord of riches, priest choice-worthy, even a friend among men.
That contrast is amazing. The cosmic fire of the big rituals connecting to the highest gods is also the fire in your own hearth, protecting the home, cooking the food.
It shows how pervasive he is. He connects the most sacred space with the most everyday space. He's everywhere.
And then there's that specific aspect you mentioned, Agni Vaisvanara.
Right, vice Vanara. This aspect seems described in even grander terms.
Yeah, he's the center of the people, sustaining them like a deep-founded pillar. Positioned cosmically, forehead of the sky, earth center. He's a light unto the Arya, which suggests a special importance for the people composing these hymns.
And the immortals all rejoice in him. He's sovereign of riches from everywhere, hills, water, plants, humans, described as celestial, truly mighty, most manly. He even brought comfort to the gods in battle. So, a warrior side too.
It sounds like Vaisvanara is maybe a more universal form, encompassing everything.
That's how it feels, connecting not just the realms, but everything within them, people, sky, earth, wealth, the gods themselves.
His origins are also presented as kind of mysterious, aren't they? Child of two births, maybe fire sticks.
Could be. But he also dwells in his lair, crouched in the cavern, found in the rock and in the house, and remarkably, in the water's home. He's called the germ of waters, germ of woods, germ of all things.
What does that even mean? Fire and water.
It suggests Agni isn't just the flame you see. He's latent potential. Hidden in wood, in stone, in water, maybe lightning, in life itself. He's the spark, the vital energy everywhere. Found by figures like Matarasven and the Burgess, like it needs discovering.
And even though he's this fierce, fiery force, he's also asked for protection. Without a flaw this day to us thy praisers. With forts of iron preserve thou from distress. He's called a refuge, a shelter.
Protective, yes, but also generative, life-giving. He grows mightily in herbs within each fruitful mother and each babe she bears. He's the life of all, cares for all mankind. He unbars his wealth-like doors, and amazingly is credited with decking heaven's vault with stars.
Wow, so from the heart fire all the way to arranging the cosmos, that's quite a range.
Absolutely. His domain just keeps expanding the more you read.
Okay, let's move to our third focus. This group, this band of deities, the Maruts.
The Moritz, yeah. The storm gods, often described as a troop, a collective. They're called the youths of Rudra, his progeny. They spring to birth, the lofty ones. They're divine, free from spot and stain, never growing old.
And their presence sounds powerful, majestic, but also kind of scary. Wise and majestical, sure, but also awful of form like giants. They make all beings tremble, even mountains. They actively make the winds, they make the lightnings, have serpent's fury, and make all things to reel.
They are the storm embodied, aren't they? Powerful, unpredictable, definitely capable of inspiring awe, maybe even fear.
But like Indra releasing the waters, their power is tied to something vital too, rain.
Exactly. They're described scattering raindrops down. They drain the udders of the sky, fill the earth full with milk. They fill full the waters which avail in solemn rites. They lead as toward the strong horse forth, that it may rain, milk the thundering, the never-failing spring. They make the rain increase, drive the clouds.
So the terrifying storm brings the essential rain. That duality again.
It's central. Their destructive power is tied directly to their life-giving function. You can't separate them.
And their look is interesting too. Powerful, yes, but also adorned. Glittering ornaments, chains of gold on their breast, lances on their shoulders, but also beauteous as antelopes, linked with spotted deer. and lightning visible as light on their chariots.
That imagery captures the duality perfectly, doesn't it? Beautiful, wild, armed, and their movement marked by that terrifying flash of lightning.
And like the others, they interact with humans. They're seen as helpful, befriending man. The person they guard in strength surpasseth all mankind, gains treasure, honor, prosperity. People ask them for glorious strength and durable riches.
So again, these incredibly powerful, even frightening forces of nature can be allies. Their power in the storm translates into real benefits for those who worship them.
The hymns also show them working with other gods, right?
Yeah.
Not just on their own.
Yes, definitely. With Indra and the Angiruses, they found the cattle another echo of releasing vital resources. They helped Sarama. While Brahaspati cleft the mountain, the Maruts also rent the mountain alongside these figures called the Navagvas and Dasagvas. They rent Vala with Indra, again breaking through barriers.
So, teamwork.
Seems like it. They dispelled darkness with the dawn, the sun. They helped shape the world, spreading earth ridges, fixing the heavens, even parting the ancient pair, heaven and earth.
It emphasizes that it's a pantheon, isn't it? Not just isolated gods doing their own thing. There's collaboration, interaction on these big cosmic jobs.
A dynamic divine world, for sure.
Okay, so let's try and pull these threads together. We've looked at Indra, Agni, the Maruts through these hymns.
Yeah.
What's the big picture that emerges about this Rig Vedic worldview?
Well, a few things really stand out. First, divine power is massively experienced through nature's forces, isn't it? Thunder, fire, storm, wind, rain. These aren't just, weather phenomena. They're living, willful beings who actively shape the world.
And they're not distant or aloof. These hymns paint a picture where the gods are right here, accessible, and importantly, responsive to what humans do.
Absolutely. That reciprocity is key. Humans offer praise, they compose hymns, they perform sacrifices, and in return, they ask for very real, tangible things. Rain for the crops, protection in battle, strength, wealth, long life. It's a transaction almost.
The language used is so rich, too, full of metaphors, comparisons to things they knew: horses, bulls, rivers, treasure, houses. It makes these huge powers relatable somehow, grounds the cosmic in the everyday.
Yeah, it bridges that gap. And we see different kinds of power, too. Indra's is often external, forceful, breaking things, conquering, bringing stuff into being through might.
Right, while Agni's feels more internal, transformative, the power of heat, light, life itself. He mediates, he resides within things.
Exactly. And the Maruts, they embody that dynamic, sometimes scary atmospheric power, essential for rain, acting as this collective force.
And their roles seem to overlap sometimes, or they work together. It suggests a complex, interconnected divine world involved in both, keeping the cosmos running and stepping into human lives. These hymns aren't just descriptions. They feel like active attempts to engage these powers.
To enlist their help, yeah.
So, studying these sources, it really gives you a direct look into the core concerns, the hopes, the fears, the whole spiritual imagination of people living thousands of years ago. Their total dependence on nature comes through so clearly in the power they give to gods of storm and fire. They tried to make sense of a world filled with powerful, often chaotic elements by personifying them, giving them intention, and figuring out a way to interact through ritual, through praise. Okay, so here's something to think about for you listening. Considering how these ancient people, living so close to the elements, sought to understand and maybe influence their world by worshiping deities of storm, fire, thunder. What does that tell us about fundamental human needs? About our own ongoing quest to find meaning, to feel some connection or exert some influence in a universe that often feels complex and overwhelming, whether we do that through ancient ritual or modern science or something else entirely. What does looking back like this reveal about our own search?